Oh boy,
Ah.
what a weekend! Woo. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello, everyone.
We are of course short one mic this week, but I am joined this week by Tom.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Metal Lab once again.
Tom is in good spirits, as it were.
Yeah. For what
Many spirits.
to in my own defense, I was out with friends having many good times before this cast. So I'm not just sitting alone drinking. I mean, right now I'm sitting alone drinking, but I wasn't sitting alone drinking before.
So he had a head start, and he's joined by me, of course. But give it the one weekend we have Mike away, and we're both imbibing. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, our clean friend has gotten away from us for one night, and we can't be trusted in his absence.
Yeah, Mike did need a fair bit of sleep. He's been very busy lately with life, so he needed a good night's rest, and we're going to give it to him. So,
Absolutely.
Without further ado, the Metal Lab, as we are here for, not the drunk tank, as we should be, is brought to you in part by hcrealms.com. Check it out. It's where everybody goes for HEROCLIX information. In fact, we're going to be spending a little time on there later today when we talk about our updates from the WKOs, which happened this past weekend. In addition, we are brought to you in part by... Oh, sorry. Whoa. While you're at hcrealms.com, check out the shop section. They have some cool HEROCLIX gear, including HC Realms bags, HC Realms hats, rock maps, all kinds of cool stuff. And while you're on the way out to check out, put in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off of your purchase. We're also brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com, run by Patrick Giboko, winner of the San Diego WKO, I might add. Check out the Apex Insiders portion of the website to get premium content with writers, including some of the recent WKO winners, including Easton Brock and Patrick Giboko, world champion Paris Gordon. If you want to see me attempt my hand at writing as well, I try to write as well as I talk, though it only happens because I use speech to text. Check it out there as well. It's $3 a month, gets you access to that. But there's also some freemium content, content. Freemium. That's video game talk. There is some free content there that will include ROC updates. And I'm not going to lie to you, the Majestic site is the fastest with the updates. So check them out again, MajesticCCG.com. So, with all that out of my breath, it's been a busy weekend, not just for us, but for the world. The U.S. had had WKO Part 2 occur to get those extra last seats into the U.S. Nationals, which will be occurring in the same week, the same span as Worlds. They'll be actually acting as their own nationals and a qualifier into Worlds, which will be on the Saturday of the same weekend. So we have all that to talk about. And last week there was a Civil War preview, and this week there was some Civil War previews. So we're going to get started with that piece of news, and then we're going to talk about some Canadian national stuff as well. So without further ado, let's get rid of my face and start talking about the title character of the most recent Marvel movie, Captain America. Captain America comes in at 80 points. He's got ignores characters and hindering terrain for movement. And he's got a trait once per game when Captain America hits an adjacent character with the armor or robot keyword. After actions resolve, you may give that character up to 2 action tokens. I love that it's called just a friendly handshake.
Yeah. It's a reference right to the comics, which is great. I'm glad they're doing that.
You've got a special defense power, blocking repulsor blasts. Captain America can use energy shield and toughness. Captain America can't be targeted by attack using range combat expert. And he's got a special damage power. He can use close combat expert and leadership as if he were 100 points. He's indomitable. And before I get your opinion, Tom, I do want to point out, because of the format of the tournament, we're going to change this just slightly. Because you basically play with what you get in this format, are you happy to get this guy? And then you can talk a little bit about constructed as well. So, Tom, are you happy to get this guy in your packs?
I would say yes. I would say that I am happy to get this guy, because I think that when you first of all, I do like the fact that they are going. I believe one of my comments on the Civil War movie set was that it felt like they kind of phoned in the Civil War aspect of it. The fact that they give those little 5-point traits is nice that they gave a nod towards it, but they were very generic. The traits didn't really feel like they had very much character. It kind of felt like it was a bit of a forced attempt, and forcing the same value with the Iron Man and Caps felt like they were really neutering Iron Man a bit too much in order to make that fit. And spoiler alert, we might find that again here. But at least in this case, you've got this thing where he's got the trait that says once per game, and it's an effect that specifically works against robots and armor, ergo against Tony Stark. And he can't be targeted by a ranged combat expert. And what do you know? Tony Stark has ranged combat expert to start. And spoiler alert, Cap has close combat expert, and Tony might be able to take care of that too. So it feels like they're just going a little bit further into really fleshing out the sense of opposition as opposed to just giving everybody a very generic feeling trait and calling it a day. So I'm glad of it from a design perspective. I'm glad that we get a Cap that very much feels like an anti Iron Man Cap. That having been said, why am I happy to get this guy? I'm happy to get this guy because even though we haven't seen yet exactly how the point values are going to break down, all the previews we've gotten up until now are below 100 points, and I think that there's a very, very good chance that we're going to be looking at averages of 3 to 4 or even higher numbers of people per team. Now, admittedly, that's a specious thing to say at this point because we have very little data to go on, but that does seem to be the way the meta is trending, or the new figure design is trending from the last, especially X-Men, but even the sets coming into it. And from the first few, I can only assume that if they've given Cap at 80 points and like Hercules at 90 points, that we're not suddenly going to get like Stature at 150 or something. You know, it just seems logical to assume that a lot of these guys are going to be sub 100 points. That leadership really could go a long way. So leadership, I'm happy to get that. Close combat expert with precision strike is a wonderful combination because it's one of those, precision strike works with everything. And so I'm very happy to get that as opposed to something like exploit or psychic blast where you'd have to make a choice. Sidestep, another thing that works with close combat expert, because of course it wouldn't work with charge. So I'm totally down with the fact that his move and attack is only 2 squares when he gets to use that in conjunction with his CCE. I think it's kind of odd that he's an 80-point figure who's treated like 100 for leadership. That 20-point gap seems arbitrary. Why not be 150? Why not be 200? Maybe that will say something about the pieces that we're going to see in the set. Maybe nobody's over 100. Well, anyway, that's getting ahead of myself. But because he's got the Ignorer's terrain in order to make up for his lack of flight, he's got Indomitable, he's got starting precision strike with decent stats, and he can take a hit with his toughness and an ESD. He can likely get around a lot of shots. The RCE is definitely helpful against people who would use that to amp up their values to get around his 19 defense from range. And once he takes the shot, Flurry Outwit's a wonderful combination. And at the end of his dial, he's charging in and really staying useful. Attacks never drop below 10. I think that for 80 points, he's a perfectly good bargain, so I'm happy to pull him.
Absolutely. And one of the things that the reason I'm going with the "Are you happy to have him?" is because the suggested format on the Civil War set is you open your packs, you hand the faction that you're not playing to your opponent, and you get his of your faction. So if you're playing anti-registration, I hand my pro-registration to my opponent. They hand me the anti-registration, and whatever I'm left with out of the 5 figures, I just kind of play with. So that's why I kind of go more directly towards, are you happy to just have this guy?
Totally.
And yes, I am happy to have a Captain America because he's Captain America. He can get there, as Tom added. And the fact that he can't be targeted with ranged combat expert, which is often going to be used on attack to deal with his energy shield, he now doesn't have that threat. So now they've got to rely on other sources of attack boosts, which do exist. But overall, he's a pretty neato Captain America, if you ask me. But let's talk about his counterpart in Iron Man. Now, Iron Man is a very similar but opposing character in a lot of the sense. He's got, I wanted to talk, but once per game, when Iron Man targets a single opposing character with an attack, if he shares a keyword with the target, you may counter that character's defense power for this attack. And then he's got a special defense power. Iron Man can use Impervious. Iron Man can't be targeted by an attack using Close Combat Expert. And he's got a special damage power. Iron Man can use Ranged Combat Expert and Leadership as if he were 100 points. So you weren't too far off of the mark on him being pretty opposing. The only difference between here is he flies as opposed to improved movement, and he's Indomitable, 6 range and 1 extra range, but that's to be expected. He is Iron Man. He comes with some mid-dial outwit, which, that he's a smart guy. He's Iron Man. And he loses some mid-dial mobility or offense or anything that Cap has in the mid-dial. Because if you look at his mid-dial, he does get Flurry in there along with the outwit. And
Cap is basically just takes what Iron Man has and adds Flurry to it.
Yeah.
Which makes him quite a bit better.
Actually has a higher attack and 1 less movement.
Yeah. That's a fair trade-off.
Yeah. So if you're are you planning on ever playing pro registration? And if you are you happy to get Iron Man?
Oh, I'm never planning on playing pro registration. It's cap all the way as far as I'm concerned, which is funny. Mike, it's good. It's interesting that Mike is not on today's podcast because he can't be the dissenting voice telling us that registration is the way to go.
It's funny because I'm wearing my cap pajama pants right now too. It's totally accidental.
You and I will only ever agree on this point. But from a purely HeroClix perspective, I'm still not happy to say Iron Man. Again, it feels like they kind of cut his mechanical arm off. We'll be kind. In order to make him equal to Cap, but you see the results of it. After Click 2, Cap is unequivocally better than Iron Man in every way that isn't the ability to carry. The fact that he's got one more range hardly matters much to me. And yeah, I'll take RCE over CCE, but I'll take Precision Strike CCE over RCE without it. An energy explosion with one target doesn't really thrill me. No. Impervious is great. It's absolutely a good power to have, but I still would argue that he's not worth it for that heavy top dial, because really once you take the hit, you really feel it. He's got a pretty lackluster clicks 3 through 6, and then he dies. It is cool. His trait is cool. In some ways, I think his trait is actually cooler than Cap's is. So that is one thing that he's kind of got going for him. I like the fact that he can counter the defense power, but it is restricted to sharing a keyword with the target. I would imagine in the context of this set, that's going to be almost everybody. So in sealed, he's probably going to get an opportunity to use that a lot because, Avengers, Illuminati, Shield, Scientist, and Armor, almost everybody is going to have a tick in one of those boxes in the Civil War set, I would assume. But that having been said, in larger meta, not so much. And anyway, this is, as far as I'm concerned, he's a two-click wonder. This is like your classic glass cannon, except that he's not much of a cannon. He's like a glass handgun, and I have no interest in wielding such a thing.
I almost feel like an empty handgun where I'd rather throw the gun in my opponent than
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have much to add to that, but this just adds to the fact that anti-registration was right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So back to anti-registration, and we're going to talk Hercules. Hey, Herc. Nice. All right. So Hercules got a trait, quote unquote, fair Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah.
Hercules can use super strength. When Hercules moves adjacent to an opposing character holding an object, after actions resolved, KO that object.
Isn't that awesome? I love that.
Amazing. No,
I wish he took the object away. Like, I kind of wish that he would run in and hoist it away from his opponent. But other than that, I think that's a cool trait. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. And he's got a special movement power on a couple of his clicks where he gets charge and plasticity. He's 90 points and he's indomitable. So go ahead, take the lead on Hercules if you want.
I think he's really good. I think that for 90 points, you get a lot of value for your buck. He's another indomitable. So far we've had 4 previews from the set, and they've all been indomitable. One wonders whether anyone won't be able to use willpower in the Civil War. But a great breakdown of keywords. I didn't say that about the previous 2, but that applies to them as well. It applies to Hercules as well. Love all the keywords that they're giving out. Lots of love for theme team building. Charge and plasticity is great. I love the fact that he gets in tight and then holds you down while he's beating you up. The fact that he takes objects away from opposing characters is just gravy. It's great in the context of the way the preview was given to us of him versus She-Hulk. I mean, when you want to imagine one against the other, that trait comes very much in handy. I'm sure that in practical terms, it won't always come in handy that often. But hey, it's a great thing to have, and he has the ability to just use super strength anyway. So if that's all it was, that would be enough, because he can hit really hard. A few more points, and he could be toting an ultra heavy. That's okay. For 90 points, this is a great little example of a stripped down Hercules that doesn't feel like they've really neutered him that much, because his damage never drops below 3, his attack never drops below 10. So even though defensively, he's taken out a little more easily than one would hope Hercules would be, at least until that point comes, he is really laying down some serious lumber. So I like him.
I also want to emphasize the quotes over fair, because he KOs your opponent's object, but doesn't stop him from using the object on that charge that he's about to KO the object on.
Absolutely.
So he charges and uses the object and smack yours away, says, "No!" Now we wrestle. wrestle.
Yeah. Now we wrestle. Here's a refrigerator.
I love the image of that. All right. And then, of course, his counterpoint would be the She-Hulk. She-Hulk has improved movement, ignore blocking, and break through it. She can use super strength as well. Her power is called cease and desist, as she's a lawyer. Boring. She can use super strength.
Get it? Like all the powers on there are lawyer jokes. I can only imagine that if any actual lawyers play HeroClix, they're like, oh god.
That's not how that power would work. And then she has, when she makes an object attack and hits, after actions resolve, give the hit character an action token. No other special powers to go with that. Indomitable. So, like, again, this is a slightly less exciting version of the character we just got. In this case.
Well, I don't know if I agree with slightly less exciting, because improved movement, blast through blocking is difficult to undermine. This is one example where I do feel like pro registration has something going too. Hercules can take her object away, but she can blast right through that wall and hit him with it before he has a chance. So I think they've done a good job balancing these two. A little bit of something for each.
Yeah. I wanted to spend a little bit more time speculating as to how the packs are going to be starting to lay out, because I feel like, and I'm just speculating and guessing, I have no actual idea, but if you see the point commonality, like you have Captain America coming in at 80, Iron Man coming in at 80, Herc coming in at 90, She-Hulk coming in at 90. I feel like we're going to get packs where you get Captain America and Iron Man, hand off your Iron Man or Captain America, depending on which size to your opponent. So you both get that 80-point figure, which could end up leading to a very unified point system in a set that's built to, be Battle Royale.
That's true.
Me can definitely go can go a long way for, future Battle Royales. Looking to bigger tournaments where they give away con exclusives and whatnot. So,
yeah, that's possible. It does seem like it would become very samey. That's my only concern. How many months is this going for?
This is 4. I believe it's 3 months. I don't have Amber handy. She usually keeps track of stuff. But I believe it's 2 or 3 months of the Battle Royales, and then the final month is constructed with what you've got. Okay. Or I could be wrong, and it's like the first 2 months are Battle Royales, and the second 2 months are constructed. So
if it's 2 to 3 months of the Battle Royales, then I guess it won't get samey too fast. I mean, yeah, a lot of us that are have the first world problem of so many different venues that we could go to. I know you and I, we can often get to these events at 2, 3, 4 venues potentially. It might become very samey by the time we reach the end of month 3, but in general, it feels like then it will work the way it's supposed to. And if that's the case, then great. I think that's neat. And I like the way they've done it with Hercules and She-Hulk. If Hercules gets in there first, he takes her object. But she's got an advantage in being able to get in there first. So a lot of it does come down to positioning, strategy, deployment. Who's gonna take those pushes when they have the opportunity, taking advantage of whether you've got a TKer and the other little things like that you can try to use to your advantage. If that's the way it's going to shake out, then there's a lot of strategic potential within a contained setting. So that's cool.
And I also believe one of the formats, if I'm not mistaken, at one point it goes from normal battle royales to team battle royales, which means then I got my teammate backing me up to help with some of the strategy. And though my team may be samey to one of their players, maybe our buddies play slightly differently and can actually add to some dynamics to it. So,
and that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Also, because I'm a huge fan of Team HeroClix. I don't like battle royales almost at all, but I absolutely love Team HeroClix type setups. It was something that here at the most local venue here in Toronto, 401 Games. They went at a brief kind of craze for them maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where there were a whole bunch of team matches, and I found those to be hyper fun, to use an expression that the kids had never coined. And that was totally for me. So I'm absolutely down for some team battle royals, because I like the way that changes the dynamics. Regular battle royals I find aggravating. It's kind of, you get punished for winning and you get punished for losing, and the best bet is to kind of hang back and let everybody else kill themselves and just win. And then that's a lame strategy as far as I'm concerned in the HeroClix setting, even if it does work in battle royals. But team battle royals is a different beast altogether. So down with that.
Yeah. All right. On that note, Tom, we're doing something this weekend, aren't we?
We are. We are traveling. One of us is traveling about 14 hours in the course of one day.
You psychopath. You crazy, crazy man.
We love to drive.
Yeah. I'm leaving on the Friday night, thank goodness. Hopefully getting out of work a little early since, it's a long weekend here in Canada. Woohoo! Which means even after we're done our events on the Saturday and the Sunday, you get the Monday to just blah.
Yes, thank you, Queen Victoria.
Yeah. We still celebrate those parts of the Brits that we got left behind. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit in detail about things that are happening in Canadian Nationals. So those of you who are planning on going, those of you considering going, and wondering how it's all going to work out. So first off, let's talk about the schedule. The schedule, of course, on the Saturday, 9 a.m. is when registration starts for things. 10 a.m. is when the sealed HEROCLIX qualifier starts, and then side events will start around the same time. Of course, that will probably include Dice Masters along that note. As well, at 5 p.m. will be the second sealed HEROCLIX qualifier. Now, these strictly sealed qualifiers to get in, and then the second day, the Sunday, 9 a.m. you wake up, go sign up, and then sleep in, go back to your hotel room because this is being held in a hotel, and get a little bit of nap until 1 p.m. To get into the national championship, as we often refer to it on the show as day 2. So day 1, the Saturday, things happen. You try to qualify, and day 2, when the championship actually happens. Now, if you've done well enough in a WKO, you do have a pass to get into the second day of Canadian Nationals. So you have that going for you. Like Tom here, who only has to show up on the Sunday, which is why he's driving 14 hours on that day.
Yeah, but I couldn't get out of work for the weekend, so it's a bloody lucky thing that I did manage to get that second day qualification, or else I wouldn't be there at all.
Yeah. So thank goodness for thank God for small favors. So
Exactly.
as on that, how do you get from day 1, if you are not already qualified, into day 2? Well, you play sealed. Now, we have it on good authority, very good authority from the guys running the event, that this is going to be, the sealed is going to be X-Men. So if this turns out to be not right, don't yell at me. And then we feel like we've wasted our lives for the past 3 weeks stressing X-Men. But so on this page here, we have the national championships and how they function. This part here, constructed HEROCLIX qualifiers, don't exist for us, so don't worry about it. So we move to the sealed HEROCLIX qualifiers. Of course, 300 points sealed, multiple Swiss rounds. There are prizes. You do get in the top half, you get a Marvel, DC, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles HEROCLIX convention exclusive prize figure. So if say 62 people, just I'm throwing a random number out, happen to come for qualifier number 1, the first 31 players, top 31 players, will get a figure. Then the second 31 figures will be getting a random Justice League ID card or a random Marvel Avengers ID card.
So everyone gets something.
Everybody gets something. And as well, for every 4 players that enter the tournament, 1 player qualifies for the national championship. So if there's, let's say for argument's sake and simplicity's sake, 32 players are playing in the qualifier, the top 8 will get into day 2. And then if you don't get into that top 8 or that top positioning, you have to move on to the next tournament, which is the one at 5 o'clock. So the first one is at 10 a.m., I believe they said. And let me just get my times right. So 10 a.m. for the first one, 5 p.m. for the second one. All right, so you got a little bit of breathing room in between there, I feel like, although they might be 4 or 5 rounds on that. And then we move into day 2. Day 2 is when you get into your constructed. This is why we've been stressing the sealed so much. If you don't already, that's Dragon. Here we go. If you don't already get into day 2, you're not getting into day 2 without playing sealed. Can't stress it enough. But you're prizing on day 2, starting with the top 8. The top 8, so this is 7th, 6th, and 5th. These guys all walk out with the Ninja Turtles van, which is purchasable there, and the Surfing Batman with the shark, which is also purchasable.
Super cool.
There. Then if you get in the top 4, so this is 3rd and 4th, you get a Cosmic Daredevil, a Kingdom Come Hawkman, a Black and White Shredder, and the Turtle Van and the Shark. If you're in the top 2, so you didn't win the final, you get the World's Finest Chase and Prime set along with all of this. I don't want to say it again. And the winner gets a HEROCLIX World's Finest Factory set.
Wow.
2017 National Championship qualifier. So next year's National Championships you qualify, and you get to choose a character to go into a future HeroClix. Notice it's choose a character, not design a character.
That's interesting.
And then after that as well, you get all of this.
Choose a character. Who would you choose? Quickly.
Oh, geez. Because I want to design a Dr. Doom, a Mr. Fantastic.
All right.
It's been a while since we've seen him. And
I'm gonna say Doc Green. That's the very intelligent version of the Hulk after his DNA was kind of rebuilt with Extremis in a fairly recent storyline.
I would almost go with the Professor with the ponytail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that would be cool.
That's deep in the tank.
Yeah.
As well, if you are a Dice Masters player, we're not going to go over, but you get Dice Masters. There's a Dice Masters attack wing working basically the same way, except I believe there isn't a sealed Dice Master qualifier. There's just a flat-out Dice Masters qualifier, which is constructed. So you qualify, then you go to day 2, and then you play again as Dice Masters is, and I believe you'll be allowed to change your deck day 2. So on that note, if you are interested in going, it is being held at the Hotel Espresso on 1005 Rue Guy in Montreal, Quebec.
If anyone's never been to Montreal before, it is a wonderful city. It's a party city, and it's worth the trip just to have a good vacation. So I mean, I don't know why I'm giving a plug for Montreal, but to be fair, it deserves it because it's a fun city.
It is. It's like a French Toronto, I find.
but like more party and less like I would like to go home and beat the traffic. Like
yeah, you're perpetually trying to beat traffic when it comes to Toronto.
Yes,
and
better music.
Toronto is like the leavings of New York, if you were to compare.
Tis so.
All right. So I mentioned earlier that there were some WKOs this weekend, and they were constructed. That means we get a good look at what our metagame looks like in this massive metagame that we walk into for Canadian Nationals, because this we still don't see cuts until June 1st, which means Canadian Nationals is running on the same legality as these tournaments are, which includes everything from Wolverine and the X-Men to Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah, like crazy.
X-Men. Holy smokes, I've never seen this. This is pretty intense. Now, a couple teams really stood out. Some things are really making a lot of noise around the world. And I do want to bring a couple of them to attention for those of you who are still building your teams for Canadian Nationals, or, if you have a modern event, a competitive event as such that you could be interested in. And one of these is going to be Easton Brock's team. He won in Leeds. I believe that's Alabama, because that's where Mr. Brock lives. Mm-hmm. And this team was Mystique with Parallax, Mystique with Ion, Mystique with Ophidian, a Triathlon ID card, a Shield Level 7 ID card with Peggy Carter, a Nova ID card with, of course, the 60-point Nova, power battery with a wall, spotlight, and an axe. So this is that thing that we're looking at and going, oh my goodness, what happened here? Oh, it's Mystique. She's incredibly hard to get your hands on. You can't. I was double checking with some rules and things, and the way she works is if you don't begin the turn, and that's before start of the turn effects, you can't sidestep into this. If you don't start the turn adjacent to her, you can't target her. Which, when she's all that's on the board, becomes slightly problematic, as you can imagine. In addition to which, she's able to knock back characters all over the place.
Yep. Now let's just for the fun of it, let's do a little bit of a Q&A on that particular effect, the not being able to target her. So I'll ask you a question and you answer it.
Absolutely.
So I say, okay, well, how about I pulse wave her? How would you answer that question with Easton Brock's team?
Pulse Wave is actually going to be able to target this, because the way Pulse Wave works is first you draw your line of fire. So long as you can draw your line of fire, any effects in that line of fire are ignored, and then you target.
Okay. Right? So if you're playing Easton Brock's team, what do you do to stop me doing that?
If I'm playing Easton Brock's team, I pick Ophidian's Pulse Wave and I orange battery it away.
Okay, that's a good answer. So, okay, next question. Let's say that I want to poison this team, because, of course, they don't have damage reduction, right?
Yep. Well, if they haven't picked it from their entities.
Oh, right. They've got the entities to pick the damage reduction. Okay, great. So that's his way around poison. Okay. What else have we got? Let's say I want
to add to it, the only one fully susceptible to penetrating poison was the Ophidian, because the other two entities get invincible.
Exactly. Yeah, that was going to be my next one, so that's good. Okay, all right. Well, they are Force Blast masters, so why don't I just Force Blast them?
Because Force Blast targets.
Yep, that's fair. Okay, that's great. So what do I do when I'm up against Easton Brock's team then about most of the time, would you say?
Weep uncontrollably. Kill the ID characters should he be silly enough to bring them out and leave them somewhere where you can kill them. Or you've got a team with a couple tools to counter. An orange battery will go a long way. Because you could get stuck in an orange battery war. Because one of the things that could, if you have an orange battery, you could, and you happen to have a character with improved movement, you could orange battery away improved movement, which takes away all improved movements, including her characters, which means she can't get away as easily. And because you're playing an orange battery, your guys that have the entities are all plasticity. So she'll need 6s to get away. It's not going to be an easy task for her to get away.
Well, she's plasticity too, but yeah, fair point.
Yeah. And then, because she's using an orange battery, which is correct. So it's still a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
But remember that plasticity does stack. So if you have multiple characters adjacent, then you're still forcing the 6.
And the only answer I was going for was lose. So I think your answer is far more constructive. We'll go with that one.
Yeah. Okay, so there's all this, but that's only if you're playing an orange battery. But Tom is correct. In a lot of cases, you're losing.
This is a real tough team.
Yeah.
There's a couple different, I like to kind of create general buckets for sort of strategy when we talk about, competitive teams. And this is very much a point denial bucket to me. The ID cards are the only sources of points that you might be able to score, and they are completely within his control. Beyond that, are you just going to stand next to the battery and punch it for the entire game? I mean, maybe that's the only thing you've got. But in a lot of cases, all he's got to do is score a few points, and then you could be in a lot of trouble because the ID characters at best are only going to get you 5 points at a shot unless you can actually take them out in one turn. And if he's playing carefully and playing well, which it's Easton Brock, so we know he's going to be playing carefully, and we know he's going to be playing well. He's not going to give you those opportunities unless you're sort of in an exceptional case. And he doesn't need Mystique to ever actually give up that token. As long as he's activating Force Blast, as long as he's activating ID cards, he's got the ability to do a lot of things that can just get a few points, because he doesn't need to score 300 points to win this game. He only needs to score a few. He only needs to score 15, well, he only needs to score 11 plus points, or shall we say 16 plus points if he activates all his ID cards. So very much a point denial team, and a really, really effective one with the construction he's got. It's a work of art, and Easton Brock is a maestro of HEROCLIX team building. So, let's not respect to Easton Brock is what I'm trying to say, as I mix my metaphors between maestros, which are musical, and works of art, which are normally, I suppose, associated with visual art, but they can be music too. So we'll go with music. He's a maestro of HEROCLIX, and he makes beautiful music.
He does. Now I'm being corrected by several people that Force Blast doesn't target. I was told the other day that it was, so me and Amber are probably going to have to fight this one out. I'm not sure.
Sorry, what was the correction? You
Force Blast does not target, so I may be incorrect on this one. I have a pack near me, and
you see, the answer I was going for when I asked you that anyway was orange battery away Force Blast, but yeah. Fair.
That's also an option. All right, but all in all, it's not an easy task to get around this team. And of course, if you're able to use Force Blast, because you're either using a Mystique or another character with the same trait, because she Force Blasts you away, you got to get back to her to Force Blast. Force Blast is a power action itself. So
I like also the stacking of denial. With Peggy Carter and an orange battery, then she can really open up an otherwise very well-defended character into practically an undefended character. Shut down two different things. You've got a lot to choose from between Parallax, Ion, and Ophidian, plus what Mystique has and what Peggy Carter comes out with. Although you'd have to deputize her to use it, but it's still possible. The point being, you can actually, it wouldn't be possible because then you take a power action. You couldn't take a power action to deny the power. Pretend I didn't say it. But the point being, between Ophidian, Ion, Parallax, and Mystique, there's a lot of things you can be shutting down. And then Peggy Carter comes down, shuts down something else. And now all of a sudden, that team needs to be able to do is deal X number of damage to go past all the things that have been shut down, and you can score the points easily. So I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
Mind you, we're isolating this. There's a lot of really good stuff on this list of
Oh yeah.
Like it's just, isn't it incredible, all the creativity out there?
This is a good time to be. This is a good meta. This is not like there's a meta where something shows up and it's totally stale and just sucks this world out of your life.
We'll nickname it the Ghost Rider and Heroes for Hire meta. Not for any reason, but just to pull random characters out of the air.
And to a lesser extent, the Pharaoh Phantom X, Silver Centurion. I don't need to move.
Yeah.
Meta.
Yeah, very true.
I don't want to take it from anybody who was successful in any of these metas. You guys played the meta. You played well, which means you're actually better players than a lot of people using the same things.
We're not knocking it, but we are saying that it's a beautiful time to be somebody who appreciates. I'm hiccuping. It's a beautiful time to appreciate the creativity that is coming to the fore in this incredibly rich meta time in HEROCLIX. I mean, you and I would like to be able to do well whenever we can, but I honestly, I'm humbled and impressed to just be able to look on at the brilliant minds at work, creating some really, really ingenious and impressive things.
Yeah, and a look back, even when I did lose to the Faust Doctor Strange team in Nationals, I get away from Ed and Isaac. They built a good team, and it's just like, you guys literally made it so that I can't play and can't win, and that's great. You did well. I can't take away that's good play. It's hard.
That's fair.
Also, as a side note, as I'm about to mention Patrick Gaboko, he wanted to say he hated playing the Pharaoh. So
he hated playing as it, or playing against it, or both.
Playing as it.
Oh, okay.
But speaking of Mr.
Patrick is a man who has, those like hilarious oversized Swiss Army knives that have like a million different things in them. When you're like, what kind of pocket are you fitting this in? It weighs like 19 pounds and it has about 1,700 different types of knives involved. And Patrick Iboko is that with HEROCLIX, and he can beat you with all the above. So
Speaking of that, he came out of hiding again and has once again decided to feast upon the people of San Diego with a 140-point Quinjet.
Yeah, that's a that's a spicy meatball of trying to carve through that.
And he played, of course, with the 5-point resource dial, an Ultron 6, an Ultron Future drone, the one that gets penetrating poison.
Well, the Ultron 6 is the one that blasts through terrain, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one that blasts through walls as a giant.
Yeah.
And the Future Ultron is the one that gets penetrating poison. The Atomica, of course, is probability control. Henry. Do we have to talk about Henry? And the Atom at 15 points to punish you for hitting him. In addition to which...
And if... Oh, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, and if memory serves correctly, the Ultron Future drone also shoots through hindering, doesn't he? Or is that a different one?
I'd have to look at that one again. I'm
looking at it right now. Ultron Future. No, he's the improved move, but ignores character. Okay. Yes, I knew there was something that he had the ability to ignore. So he's getting away from characters, because of course these guys are activating ID cards. So that guy can optimize his position, and the other guy can blow out the walls between you and your target.
Yeah. Good. Now we have a nice little curve of ID cards that comes out of this team, including the Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Iron Man at 50 points. The Atom ID card with another sidelined Colossal Atom. A S.H.I.E.L.D. level 7 card. What do you put on a S.H.I.E.L.D. level 7 card? A Nick Fury. And then he's got another shield level 7 card because they are not specifically unique and they are not on a round table. And that's with Peggy Carter this time. A Nightwing ID card with the 100-point monthly OP kit Nightwing.
And we know what he comes with. A permanent source of support and perplex for the rest of the game as soon as he comes out.
Absolutely. We've got a Red Hulk ID card with a monthly OP kit Red Hulk. Mm-hmm. And a Bucky Barnes ID card and a Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 95-point Winter Soldier.
Yeah, well, Sniper Supreme. Beautiful.
Now, those of you unfamiliar with how the Quinjet team usually works, it's use the ID cards, do a lot of damage, do whatever damage you can with your team as well, and then get something big out to stick around and add to your 300-point team. And in this case, you can probably get a Nick Fury out, reasonably get a Nick Fury, a Red Hulk, or a Nightwing. Or even a Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier would be pretty solid.
They're all pretty great. That Red Hulk is a beast because when he gets knocked into his late dial, then he has outstanding damage output. So
in this case, you're going to be relying heavily on the top dial because, well, I mean, if they get hit and they're sticking.
Oh yeah, right.
But at the same time, this also adds the Quinjet as a figure that can be calling things in. Because a lot of the builds use the 70-point Quinjet. We got a 140-point Quinjet, which means his entire sideline can be called in by it. And I think that one comes a little bit more beefy, if I remember stats-wise. So, of course, it's going to come in beefy. I mean, we got, about 5 or 6 more clicks in addition to whatever it brings stats-wise. So, congrats, Patrick. And he'll probably be messaging me throughout the show because he seems to be watching live. So, I'm excited for that. Hi, Pat.
Hello, Patrick. We all are in awe of your.
Now, one more caught my eye that seemed to be playing on an idea that we were playing with a little while ago. But before we get that, there we go. Combo Red Hulk inspiration with Peggy Carter. Poison.
Oh. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh boy, I love you, Pat.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's great. Oh, I love Patrick.
So not to take away from the players, but there are some mainstays of the meta. Kyle Rayner with a Mixie, played by Carlos Munoz in Vegas. There's a
New Mutants team base. Holy crap, what year is it? It's so cool.
That's the one I wanted to bring up because we were tooling with a very similar idea, and Kenny tooled with a very similar idea with a round table back when you could do that with a round table. But we got Jason Allen in Owensboro, Kentucky with a New Mutants team base, Solaris and Jarvis, along with several ID cards. And an orange power battery. Now, of course, the orange power battery is really going to go on Solaris and Jarvis because that's who you can assign things to. You can't assign to anybody coming off the team base, but the team base can use the ID cards to call in people like, I don't know, a KC Superman for 200 points and deal 9 damage to somebody. That's a thing you could do. Call in a Nick Fury to just end a life. Call in Batman at 85 points because you just need something done. Yeah. And you can do that with the characters coming off of the New Mutants team base as well. So you can bring your Magics, your Magmas, your
Warlock if you need a high point character.
Whatever you need out to get things out. And you get a lot of flexibility out of that. In addition to which the orange power battery, of course, adds removing things like Perplex from Jarvis, and Solaris adds a bunch of powers as well.
I love the way that works with the New Mutants team base. There's so many powers that you can choose from between popping off the right chosen characters that the orange battery works really nicely with it. That's smart.
Well, the thing to remember is the orange battery only works on characters it's assigned, and you can't assign the team base or any characters that come off of it with the resource.
Oh, you can't? Oh, I did not realize that.
Yeah. So it will be coming off of Solaris and Jarvis. But at the same time, one thing to remember, too, is inspirations grant powers. So if you pick the right timing, inspire correctly, magic can happen. But
it's cool. It's still relevant after all these years.
Yeah. We try I was trying something very similar with an Avengers team base. Just I didn't think to include team. I was copying Kenny. I'm not gonna lie. But we did. What else we seen? We seen a Spiral.
I thought that was a good team. You gave up on that team too quickly. Yeah, I like that team. I think you gave up on it too quickly. But
there's a lot of it. There's a lot of things that I was looking at and just. I probably did give up on it too quickly, but it was better. It's for the better because of what we did come up with later.
I agree.
So we've seen Spiral again, this time with a black hand and a power plant. We see the zombie Super Skrull has shown up this time with a green battery along with Lydia Meller. interesting choice.
Yep. Well, it's a battery. It's almost a battery required meta. It seems like right now, and that's a bit of an exaggeration. But the majority of the teams we're seeing are batteries, even if it's not everyone's. And that Lydia Mallory really disrupts your batteries.
Yeah. So we get to Warren, Michigan. Winner is George Masu, a name you've heard many a time, with a scientist team with the 150-point Lex Luthor. I believe that's, if I remember correctly, that is from Superman Wonder Woman. I don't have my window open right now because I'm still trying to. I was told that it was from Superman Wonder Woman, which baffled me at first, and then continued to baffle me because I remember us pooping on this one quite a bit. Leadership, mastermind. When he does, consider higher points and characters adjacent with the adjacent friendly character with Justice League can use Superman enemy team ability. When they do, he's considered a higher point. Okay, so then we move on to what he actually played. And I've lost the window. There it is. All right. He's got Bill, Agent of AIM, Ant-Man. So he's not really using a lot of the Justice League extra stuff, but he does have a good selection of powers. He's got an orange power battery, Ant-Man to bring out ants to get in the way. Lots of mastermind fodder to go with that, of course, if you think about it that way. Allowing Lex Luthor to do a ton of damage with the Ophidian. He's got the Justice League ATA, the 1.1, because I think there's enough flying targets out there to justify that on its own, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And an orange battery with a wall bulldozer, sniper rifle, and nurse. So,
well, I like the ability to turn off precision strike, and then Lex's mastermind is an awful lot harder to get around.
Yeah, and this is a thing. This is a quirk about George Masu. Not to take away from him, he will play Lex Luthor if he has a chance.
Yeah, it's true, and he'll win. And he'll win with it. And he'll win. He'll mastermind off to an ant anytime you ask him to.
Absolutely. And if he designed a Black Adam, he will take it to the top 2 in the world the year after he designed it.
Yeah. The man knows how to win matches.
Now this is a friend of ours from just short south of these states. And this one is in Morgantown. What would be WV in states? I'm terrible with the states. WV, Wisconsin was no.
What WV?
Yeah.
You're talking about Derek.
Yeah. What's WV is states wise?
It's going to be so embarrassing, isn't it? Because I'm sure that a lot of people who watch this are American, and they're like, it's so obvious.
States, WV. I'm googling it right now.
I don't know.
In West Virginia.
Boy, that's as obvious as it can be.
Morgantown, West Virginia. Derek Thompson, a friend of ours, he won, and we called it. He's in the meta, guys.
Yep.
Iceman.
Yep.
His build was thanks, Patrick. His build was
he helped us out with that too, did he?
Iceman with Eclipso, a Nighthawk Prime, an Ant-Man at 50 points, Atomica, a Manifold ID card, and Pandora's Box with 2 sins, Sloth, and Wrath.
The best sins, as far as I'm concerned. I love that Sloth sin so much. +1 defense and healing if you don't do anything. Woo! Love it.
Yeah. And so already we got that one. What's that one problem we all talk about with Iceman? Well, he doesn't have willpower. Well, you give him the Wrath Relic, now he's got willpower. Get him next to somebody when he's trying to ice block them. Guess what? Now you can't use shape change. So I'm pretty sure this Iceman spent a lot of time ice blocking Nick Fury's all day, every day.
I also love sidestep with that Iceman is just dynamite. We talked about it. So good.
So amazing. Nighthawk Prime says you can't get bigger stats. Eclipso, I want to point out, does have a higher damage than Iceman. I was wondering why Eclipso, and the damage is consistent. And he's got the right powers in a lot of cases that Iceman is probably going to need in some places. So overall, I think it was a really good choice to put Eclipso on Iceman if you actually look it out. Now, me and Amber got a little confused by this, and I think this one is a little bit more brilliant than people see for it. And it's a Manifold ID card. Manifold's inspiration is +3 speed, so you can add 3 speed to Iceman's big old running shot, followed by Manifold pulling him back after he makes that big old running shot because Manifold has TK. So, and I don't think he starts with Prob, but overall, just Manifold was a better choice than he looks like as far as an ID choice.
Yeah, like Nighthawk Prime brings him out, right? And then Iceman gets the extra
Yep.
speed. He can't get at that point. Iceman can go as far as he wants because it's Manifold's next to Nighthawk Prime, so you don't have to worry about the
Right.
5 square thing. So you go out, you do your thing, you token people up, and then Manifold pulls them back with DK. I think that's nice, smart thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to check this out, this is the post we're using is on HC Realms in the forums. We come across some old mainstays again. We got Silver Centurion with Lockjaw, Atomica, and a green power battery. We've seen Silver Centurion before. We're just adding a new pit crew to him. I
Red
thought
Hood.
Lockjaw was a weird choice, but
I think
once I looked at it,
Red Hood and the Outlaws. Nice to see it. That's still working.
yep, double
Absolutely.
coriander.
Dynamite. Yep, double coriander, but great thing. I like the fact that we saw Krang. Krang has cracked the meta just a little bit too early, considering I was very, very seriously considering a Krang team for my U.S. Nationals / Worlds team. But now it's been done, and I have to think of something else. But it wasn't this team, so maybe I'll still go with it.
I want to actually point out that Pandora's box is here, and it's here in a meta with power batteries.
Yeah, it's here in a meta where it doesn't need to be. So, yeah. And the same thing with the Quinjet. I mean, the Quinjet is we already know it's great, but it's very cool that it is already making its presence felt and stuff. So the idea that suddenly the meta is going to undergo an enormous revolution in about a month is accurate, but it's not necessarily as much of a revolution as maybe we've led people to believe.
Yeah. Down in Utah, Jonathan Rendon winning another. Jonathan Rendon is a man whose name has shown up very high up in WKOs. He's won several WKOs and has been very high up, but it doesn't get talked about a lot in a lot of tournaments. So it's worth mentioning. He brought out a Green Lantern, KC Green Lantern with Ophidian, a Nighthawk Prime, and Shield level 7 ID card.
Good luck. Good luck hitting my 20 defense with -2 to your attack and Nighthawk Prime.
Yeah, especially, and I'm going to point this out after we're done, on a new ruling made with the Sinestro battery that's actually official and really baffled me when I found out. But we do have one Felix Faust out there. So Felix Faust does exist.
Yep. Oh,
his best friend here, Nick Fury in the Atom, along with an Indigo battery. So.
Yeah. I don't suspect it's the last we'll see of him. He's
no. I do think we still know he exists. We're not blind to his existence. It's just he's definitely not as potent as he used to be. But apparently you don't need Rocket Raccoon to make him work. So that's something. For those you didn't mention, we just wanted to mention the highlights of this. We've seen a lot of the stuff that's out there, and not to take away from you guys, congratulations on winning in WKOs.
And congratulations to everybody who came out and participated and made it so great. I mean, the fact that the WizKids Opens got a chance to run on such a big scale and still get so many people out and so many people playing so many creative things, I can't say enough about what a great time it is to be playing this game. And so everyone who's listening to this podcast that plays this game, you're a part of making this the great experience that it is for so many people right now. So cheers to you.
Absolutely. So on that note, there is a quick update. For those of you who are familiar with the Sinestro Power Battery, many, many moons ago, they clarified that when you pulse wave a character with a Sinestro Power Battery, you don't get your -2 to your attack because you ignore certain effects, including the fact that they're a Sinestro Corps member. They have reversed this. So Pulse Wave no longer gets rid of the negative on the Sinestro Power Battery. So when you're pulse waving at -2 attack.
Yeah. Good luck against that 20 defense.
Yep.
Have fun.
Yeah. Trust me, I had to deal with something very similar to this past weekend, which we're going to talk about right now. Yeah. We played a Winamap at the Comic Warehouse, kind of as a lead-in to the provincial championships coming up June 4th. Provincial states. Check hcrealms.com under the Rock tab. Check where your location is in your state. If you don't have one in your state, see if you can hit the gas on that. If not, check if there's a close state that you can get to, or close province if you're Canadian. We are running provincials here in Ontario at the Comic Warehouse in Brampton, Ontario, 20-something Strathern Avenue. I used to have it memorized because I used to announce things on a video every week, and then that kind of just went by the wayside. It is 20 Strathern Avenue in Brampton.
Well done.
Check it out. You can see it off of Steeles, but you're gonna have to drive behind it to get into it if you're coming from out of town. If you're local, we're looking forward to seeing you there. It's gonna be $20 entry Canadian. That's Canadian dollars. So if you're in the US, it's not that bad, guys. Our funny money, it just makes prices funny.
Hey, you know what? If you've got the opportunity to come from the U.S. and enjoy the riches that come with your sweet, sweet dollars, then by all means, it's not going to feel like $20 to you.
Yeah, exactly. But on that note, we had a Winamap. One of the prizes, of course, being entry into that provincials for free. And I already announced it earlier. Aubrey Smith won. Congrats to Aubrey. Using a very well-constructed soldier team. And yeah, I think it was the only team I lost to in the Swiss rounds. That's for sure. And it actually beat you in the finals.
Yes, it did. Yes, yep. I came in the honorable second. And it was only later that I realized what I could have done. It's not that what I could have done to win. It's just what I could have done to survive a little longer. But hey, you know, you learn and you put that into practice next time. But I had a great old wonderful time. I got into the top cut by the skin of my teeth, and then made the best of it when I got there. So coming in second was good luck as far as I'm concerned, because my own unfathomable stupidity in my game against a friend of the show, Jay Solomon, nearly cost me getting past the cut. So that was more good luck than good management, but.
Yeah, so on that note, I'm just going to take you through my story because I actually got to compete in this one, even though I partially organized it. Amber and another friend of ours, a fellow organizer, fellow volunteer at the store, Aiden, helped to get things all set up at the tournament. And so I brought a team that's I play. Though it doesn't seem the norm, it is more the norm than you think. But it's a tough team. And it's got high defenses, which I don't usually rely on. And it's got a lot going on with it. And I don't want to talk about it in great detail because I'm bringing in Canadian Nationals. And if you want to check out, I might be putting an article up before I go to Canadian Nationals on the Majestic CCG site. You just have to check.
There you go. You see? Sign up for Majestic CCG and hear all of the important up-to-date news.
You heard it here, Patrick. But on that note, so first round, I played against a familiar tech, and it is Dupe and Gluttony. That hard to kill tech.
Boy, that's a bold. In a world with Nick Fury, that is a bold choice.
It was, but it was familiar territory because the player playing it, Spencer, has played it to great success in the pre-Nick Fury era. So I think he was playing something he was comfortable with, and decided he was just gonna give it a run. Mm-hmm. Now, the way I saw it with this is I had to play with patience. That's the best thing I could do. Play with patience, block off with some barriers because I did have a battery to give with a wall to give myself some wall space to block them off. So I did the best I could with that. Isolated characters one at a time and managed to whittle down the dupe very efficiently. Second round, I played against Aubrey, who ended up winning. I scored 75 points off of him, but there's 3 attacks in a row. 2 of the 3 attacks would have one-shot killed a Nick Fury, but he rolled shape change on all 3 of those attacks, and that's just something I had to accept because
harsh.
You got shape change. What do I do? Right? Suck it up. So even though I was a little upset about it, I took it in stride because even later on he went on to win, so that was my only loss. Third round against Mike Payne. Our games are getting very, very intense because for one. I've realized now that I can't take Mike for granted. He's not just a new guy anymore. I do have to actually put some thought into my turns now. And I do have to pay attention to the games a lot better than, if I was to be playing against him like a month ago, or not a month ago, like 6 to 8 months ago. That said, I caught him on a mistake and was able to capitalize on it. So he made a move. I was able to capitalize on that move and get to safety. And then it was just a matter of a big figure and a big figure just kind of not hitting each other, slugging nothing, shooting it, heels going on, things just nonsense, pure nonsense.
It was an
I,
intense game. I was
it
watching it,
was, yeah, it
and
was.
it was a feverish game.
I've never used so many probs in a competitive tournament in my life.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that right now. And of course, but I have in the past used as many probs as I have to no avail, like I did. So,
Crazy.
but it was a heck of a game. It played out very intensely, and it came to time. And of course, I couldn't make the top 4 because I only scored 75 points in my second win. And I was in the end, I had like 450 points, and I think third and fourth were in the 600 realm. So if I would have swept
605 and 603 respectively.
if I would have swept Mike, I would have been in the top 4, but I didn't sweep Mike, and therefore couldn't make the top 4. That happens. So I had a ton of fun playing. It was a good way to get my legs moving again because Nationals is coming up, and I haven't played in a really competitive tournament since Provincials. Provincials is the last because of the dollar. The stores locally aren't really interested in or aren't up for the investment in the Rock. Though I'm hoping I've changed minds with. We had 16 people show up for this Winnamap, which the store was able to capitalize on, and then we have Provincials coming up, which will hopefully do fairly well as well. And we'll see how that goes out. But I had a ton of fun playing competitively again, and I got the juices going. And I'm warmed up, and I'm ready for Nationals now, especially with all the sealed practicing I've been doing as well. Tom, you wanna share your story, sir?
Sure. I had a great time. A lot of fun. I didn't right into the late 11th hour. I was sure I wasn't going to be able to make it. And then
You literally showed up at like the 11th hour.
like I was in the hour of 11 because that's when it started. I had filled up my sheet in advance. We had an on sale. My job is I work as the head of a box office for a theater here in Toronto, and we had an on sale that day, so I was taking care of it remotely. But because it went well enough, I was able to jump in the car and drive like a streak up to the Comic Warehouse and get there to play. And so I was kind of frazzled, and I just wanted to test out a team that I didn't necessarily have a ton of confidence in. I had I'll do the same as Jason. I won't give away a lot, but I will say that it's a team that involves playing the Hulk and Scarlet Witch. So there you go. So it's by and large, teams like that are they gonna work or they're not, and then the dice will often be the deciding factor in that type of a setup. So it was a very aggressive team. But I prefer in this case to go the more aggressive route in the hopes of being able to score more points than I lose, as opposed to sort of denying points and that sort of thing. The first game I played against Emily my opponent was Emily. I just played against her with almost the same team a few days earlier, so I did know her team and how it operated. In fact, I made some suggestions on what she might do to change it, which she took. Which I do think made the team better, but it also could have worked to my benefit in that game because I knew the figures that I was suggesting. And so I squeaked that one out. That was a close victory, but I did get a victory on points in the first round. And the second round, I did one of those things that you do when you're really, I don't know whether it's because you haven't been sleeping enough or whether you're just not paying attention or whether you're just having fun playing Heroclix because you're like, I didn't even think I could be here today, so I'll just take advantage by having a great old time, where you just do something that, in retrospect, like, what on earth was I thinking? Obviously, I wasn't thinking about winning.
Or drinking.
What was I drinking that day that made me think? Because ultimately, basically, all it was I brought in an ID character for no real benefit to speak of besides being able to make an attack when otherwise I would have had to take 2 turns to get into a position to attack. Now, I was able to prevent any attacks being made against me, so the only reason to bring out the ID character at that point was just for the fun of shaking it up. I was like, he won't expect another attacker, but it brought me out an ID character that then was KO'd in the next turn, and I lost all of his points plus the points of his ID card, which actually put me behind by the amount of the ID card. I lost that game 105 to 5, or 105 to 100, I should say. So I lost by 5 points because I was dumb enough to bring out an ID character who would be placed in the line of fire because I felt like it. That was a stupid mistake. I did not deserve to do as well as I did in the tournament after that kind of a mistake. In the third match, I went up against Thomas, a mirror match of Tom's, as it were, playing a team that I had also played against a few days earlier. So I kind of knew how it worked, and I was able to score the entire thing. That gave me the points to get into the top 4. In the top 4, I took on a Nick Fury Nighthawk Prime combination, but winning map really helped stymie Nick Fury's line of fire, and I just sort of, what can I say? I won the game by a combination of good luck, good management, and things working in my favor. So and then against Aubrey's team, Aubrey won map. It was going to be a game that was largely decided by the guy who won map, because both of our teams function in large part by their success on certain types of maps. In both cases, we can work around it, but certainly we both have an optimal map scenario that is the absolute opposite. Mine is all walls, his doesn't have any. And he won the map, and he chose one that didn't have any. So he had the opportunity to strike first. He made that strike mean something, and I couldn't really recover from the big alpha. So I fought on and got some points, but ultimately not enough to sway the balance. So Aubrey won that one, and I had a great time. So I can't complain. I had a wonderful thing. I learned a lot about this particular combination of figures. I also learned that they work better than I thought they would. So even though that wasn't the team I was really thinking of bringing to nationals or provincials or whatever, then I'm still thinking about it as a backup option. So we'll see what I wind up playing. But I had a lot of fun with it anyway.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I hope it seemed like everybody who was there had a great time. Had a great time playing with everybody. It was a great tournament, and I hope to see all, if not most of those players at provincials on June 4th, and hopefully some more of our fans who are watching as well. So on that, it's team time.
Woo! It's been a while.
It has been a while, and we also have 2 team exercises today. One of which we started last night. And okay, so give me a quick story.
I'd like to do this one with the fans at home, because the idea, we're going to set this up and then give them some time, right? We're going to come back to this
Probably
later.
a good idea. We're going to come. Yeah, we'll do that. It's actually something I was thinking about doing, and that's a great idea. So we did sealed practice last night. Opened up a brick, finished my X-Men collection. Luckily, even better.
by force of coincidence.
Yeah. I've been sitting on this brick for about, when did X-Men come out? That's how long I've been sitting on this brick. So it's been sitting on top of my microwave for a little while, and we were getting ready to do a practice night sealed. But there was 4 of us practicing, myself, Amber, Mike, and Tom. So my daughter was still awake when we started. I decided to let her open the last 2 packs. And what we were going to do, we had some friends who wanted in but couldn't get out. So we sent them pictures of the pack and asked how you'd build. So we're going to, before we do our normal builds, I'm going to give you guys a look at the packs, tell you guys what figures are in the packs. We're going to go over our builds for the week, which is based on Dr. Nemesis this week. And then we're going to talk about what we would have built. And if you want to throw in the comments below what you would build with these 2 packs, put them in the YouTube comments below. Hopefully you guys are watching on YouTube. So without further ado, here are your 2 packs. I'm going to go over the figures in here very quickly too. So on pack 1, we have Blockbuster, we have Lady Mastermind, Scrambler, Super Sabra, and Dark Angel. The second pack, we have the Common Wolverine, Arclight, Cyclops, Super Sabra, and Magneto. And this is the rare Magneto. Off to the side, you'll see his little effect space.
And that's the uncommon Cyclops, the 100-point
Yes.
all-new X-Men one that has the arcing optic blast.
That's right. Yeah, the time-locked one.
Yes, time-locked.
So, you guys have a couple minutes to build with this. Put your build, what you would build, in the comments below. And we'll get back to that in a second. But in the meantime, let's talk with the doctor, and let's talk with the drunk doctor first. Tom.
All right. Yeah, no kidding. The evening wears on and the bottle wears dry. There's a Gordon Lightfoot's on that I would invoke at this point.
Is this Dr. Tom or is this Dr. Jack? Dr. Daniels.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's just Jack to me. When you're this close with him, then you're on a first name basis. Yeah. Okay. Dr. Nemesis. So first of all, let's take a look at what the figure is. I'll screen share here and I'll just guide you through it. So here's Dr. Nemesis for you. He's 6 clicks long. He's 115 points. He starts out with a movement. First of all, he has improved movement, which gives him the ability to ignore characters, and also improved targeting, the ability to ignore hindering terrain. He has a trait, which is who invented the ranking of the smartest people. It says if one of Dr. Nemesis's powers would be countered, choose a standard damage power that he currently can't use. Dr. Nemesis can use that power while his power is countered. So basically, if you outwit him, if you outwit anything on him, then he gets to choose a damage power he can't use and gains that as well. So it's kind of an interesting, flavorful, and fun anti-outwit sort of power. He's got a movement special that says he can use sidestep, stealth, and improve movement, ignores hindering. So now he's got the full ignore hindering package with ignores hindering for targeting and ignores hindering for movement. Should be noted that he targets with a 6 range, 2 targets, and precision strike helps. He also has an opening damage special, which is that he can use perplex and support, and if he uses perplex to target an opposing character, he can use outwit until your next turn, but only to target that same character. So he can outwit and perplex the same person. Otherwise, he's starting out with combat reflexes and precision strike. Boy, speaking really well tonight. So the idea here is obviously that he's got stealth, and because he ignores hindering terrain for everything, targeting and movement, then he wants to be in hindering as much as possible. Hopefully, the stealth is protecting him, and if you get next to him, you got to deal with his combat reflexes. As the dial goes on, he moves to a mind control blades, which gives him both an option for 2 very different options: make your opponents fight each other, or try to do damage outside his own value and his own numbers with blades. Defend allows him to be helpful to your team. Outwit is, of course, always useful. And on his very last click, he reverts to precision strike with some prob, keeps with the mind control. So that's our piece. He's 115 points. He's a boot mover, so he can be carried. Because he's ignoring hindering for both movement and targeting, then there's really no reason for him to stay out of the bushes. And he's got the past scientist, X Club, and X Force keywords. So that's Dr. Nemesis. When I look at this character, I don't see 115 points. I had to be honest with you. This was a big struggle for me because I like the fact they made Dr. Nemesis. I find that very cool. I find it also very cool because Dr. Nemesis was very much involved in the storyline around Warren Worthington kind of becoming Archangel again, the Dark Angel saga and whatnot. So it's timely that we got a new Dark Angel at the same time that I got a Dr. Nemesis. That being said, Dr. Nemesis kind of blows. He's 2 stars in the realms, and I think I understand why. For 115 points, you could do a lot better. So I was really struggling on how to make a team to make the best use of a figure that I didn't like. And the answer to that question will be as follows. There's a trait on the Avengers Roundtable, and it reads as follows. I'm better suited for these, foes. After revealing your force, but before placing characters in your starting area, you may replace a friendly character on your force with an ID character of equal or less points from your sideline. That character is no longer an ID character, and its ID card is removed from this resource.
I'm going to use them by not using them.
So I cheated by putting Dr. Nemesis onto a team with 4 different ID cards that also have 115-point character options. We've got the 115-point She-Hulk. She can charge in and deal some serious damage with charged super strength, and has a nice thick dial of producers. Or if you're in more of a ranged attack mood, you've got the Justice League Trinity War Superman, who's got Superman ally with running shot. He can use his freeze breath incap special, as well as the leadership that can give him +1 to all his values and impervious. Or if you're feeling more like an exploit weakness sort of close combat hacker, we've got the Black Knight here, also 115 points with charge, invulnerability, and exploit weakness. And finally,
I just want to say I'd rather use Black Knight over anybody else. Said no one ever.
Yeah. Well, I'd use them over Dr. Nemesis
until
every
today,
time.
yes.
And of course, the 115-point Green Lantern, who we've addressed on this very podcast, who starts out as mostly a support figure, and as he takes damage and gets towards the back of his dial, he becomes a great little close range combat attacker in his own right. So these are all perfectly good options for switching out your Dr. Nemesis, so you need never actually play with him. However, I should point out that they're also there. They're not just there to switch out Dr. Nemesis. I'm not just cheating. I also have placed him alongside the 115-point Wolverine, this being from the new Uncanny X-Men set. Now, this guy is a close combat scrapper at his finest. He gets in there close. He tries to deal as much damage as possible with his blades, and he's the one that collects heal tokens so that he's harder to take out. And I found that this would work quite well with a support figure. So the other way that you could use Dr. Nemesis on this type of a team, because as I've already pointed out, we've got the Avengers Roundtable with those 4 ID cards you just mentioned, the She-Hulk, the Superman, the Black Knight, and the Green Lantern, along with a Black Canary ID card, because I always like the opportunity of bringing out a Running Shot Pulse Waiver, and a Wonder Woman, because if you've not taken a look at her from the Batman v Superman 003, this would is this from the starter? I think this is from the actual main set.
That's from the main set, yeah.
She's 105 points, and she comes in with Charge, Flurry, Blades, and Battle Fury. And if you've not played a competitive game recently, you may not realize this, but shape change is absolutely everywhere. So that Battle Fury is worth its weight in gold, and the fact that it combines with Charge, Flurry, and Blades means that she can deal some serious, serious damage. She's also a very real possibility as another alternative to switching into if you don't want to play Dr. Nemesis on your team. But I was thinking, Wolverine's really good, and his heal tokens, as awesome as they are, get even more awesome if you have other ways of healing him, and Dr. Nemesis' support might be able to do that. So the idea with this team is that the Avengers Roundtable, you've got a wide variety of different inspiration effects. Wolverine's getting in close, and he's going to try to slice him up. If you want to switch out Dr. Nemesis right from the get-go, then go for it. I wouldn't blame you for it. However, if you don't, he can also be used to activate all these ID characters and get them to do the work for him. And all he does is sit back, sidestep into the right position, perplex to make sure that the hits are going to get through, and support Wolverine up when he takes some damage and gets towards the end of his dial. Because if you can use support to heal him back up and keep his heal tokens, that's even more death insurance and even more heal tokens he'll get while he's en route to being KO'd. So the idea here was obviously relatively straightforward. I don't love Dr. Nemesis, and I am not ashamed to say that I largely built my team around the idea of not playing him. However, the team also functions just fine with Dr. Nemesis on the field, calling out ID characters to do the work for him, and he's just there to heal up Wolverine. Because your top 2 characters are both going to be 115 points, then your Nick Furies on the other side won't have a highest point character for them to target. Your High Fathers, for the little while High Father's still out there, won't have anybody to declare a pact with. Some more thought being put into this team. Oh, I should have mentioned the other 35 points were Spectre. I put Spectre in, the KC Spectre, to give you some prob control and to help you out in that respect. That was where the other 35 points of that team went. So that was my team. And admittedly, it is kind of an exercise in trying to sort of beat the system, because I really don't like Dr. Nemesis, and so I love the idea of bringing him onto the team, just taking him immediately off it. But the team still works if he's on it as well, and that's all I have to say.
All right. So I didn't get quite that way, but I also realized about a second ago that a big portion of my team didn't work, so I immediately had to fix it right now. So I apologize for the lack of order to my team. I'm not as creative as Tom in this case. So I, of course, started with Dr. Nemesis. And you know me, I always start with the keywords when it comes to these guys. So I went with the scientist keyword because that's going to be the one that gets the most out of it. Oddly enough, you can be quite aggressive with a scientist keyword team now, especially with that guy named Dr. Octopus. So again, I apologize for the order of things, but we got Dr. Nemesis. He's mostly playing a role of a supporting character, but literally with perplex and support as part of his powering, right? And as Tom said, he adds all that extra cool stuff. None of it is, as prevalent as the idea that I'm probably going to be healing guys with this guy, using perplex to make attacks higher, especially when I have a Dr. Octopus out there to, add to the amount of damage, because Dr. Octopus needs the extra attack. He can't get the extra damage, so there's not much I can do about that. And as well, I can add some outwit. Originally, I had Shredder on this team, which was going to be a lot of fun, but then I realized that if I can't get Dr. Octopus in after I trigger him, I'm wasting my time. So
that's true.
On that note, I quickly found the quickest, cheapest carrying scientist I could find, and that is the Ultron 6 drone, because he does become a giant. He is bigger than Dr. Octopus and also bigger than Nemesis. So I put 2 of them on there to wreak havoc on indoor maps, carry both of my team members, and get in there. And if you're paying attention and watching my screen or watching the screen, you'll see I have Pandora's box and a full one. Originally, it was shrunk down Pandora's box, and that's why I also haven't added the requisite ID card for having 5 points left over. I went with Pandora's box because it adds sidestep. So if Dr. Octopus doesn't have his carrying guys, he can still take his power action, sidestep in, and do what he does. Do what he do. I would, of course, lean towards Wrath because for one, Dr. Octopus's natural defense is 16, and once you trigger that ability, you're stuck with that. So I'd rather get in close combat, use the combat reflexes from Wrath, and at the same time, ignore that shape change that quite plagues me lately. It vexes me so.
Just as you... okay, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, just as you were talking about Dr. Octopus, I realized how awesome he would be with a disintegration beam.
Yeah, it's a shame it's going away.
Yeah.
Oh, man, because you get so many attacks, one of them is bound to be a 10. Right?
Absolutely. Well, that and the fact that, keep in mind, the secondary effect of the disintegration beam is that for 150 points or less, he just turns your invincible, impervious, and vulnerability into toughness.
That's also true.
So those 4 flurry attacks, because he's forced to lock his value at 3, he's going to get a lot more bang for his buck if he's got the ability to make sure that 3 is actually sticking.
Yeah. I just, for me, I really had to get already into that flash forward meta.
It's the new meta.
Yeah. So that's kind of where my mindset on that went. Now, of course, I do have other options if I do so happen to decide to play a little slow, get the entities on all my guys before I do anything, then I do have that option to start doubling up on entities and packing extras. So like if Dr. Octopus's attack isn't good enough, then I envy him, and then I add a perplex on top of that. Use your attack because mine sucks, and hit a little bit more often. Overall, this is kind of what I came up with, mostly on the fly because I'd screwed up at first. But the corrections still make more sense. And if I was to choose one of the ID cards with the point values I got, I'd probably go through Tom's list and most likely pick out the Black Canary because Burning Shot Pulse Wave, we're about to lose to Nova.
Yeah, she is now going to be the only actual sort of running shot Pulse Wave I think that you can bring in with an ID card. At least the only one you can bring in for under 115 points. We almost done this thing. But anyway, she's going to become her stock's going to go up because we won't have the Nova, we won't have the Thor. I've always loved bringing out that 100-point Thor from AVX, who also had running shot Pulse Wave, and also because of the fact that you have to choose who you're assigning it to as your. When do you choose your ID characters? If memory serves, it is
at the beginning of the game. So
right,
you can bring like 3 or 4 ID cards. Yeah. Or characters as part of your team, part of your selection, but you have to choose one for that game at the start of the game.
And that's why I love that Thor so much, because you could choose to have the Thor that brings out Jane Foster for 100 points if you needed support. But if your team is really going to benefit by Pulse Wave, you can bring out the AVX Thor that has running shot Pulse Wave. So you got some options there. Unfortunately, it all goes away in a matter of weeks. Except for the Jane Foster part.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So on that note, we're going to go back to our sealed build. Now we only have one person in the comments section, and lo and behold, it's Patrick Iboko.
Hey!
And he went pretty academic on it. He went with Dark Angel and 100 points of other stuff, either Magneto or Cyclops.
Yep.
Or the 250-point dudes, Wolverine and something else. The first iteration gives you enhancement and or energy shield deflection. Archangel can carry Cyclops to be an action efficient, or Magneto can give you better defense. Second one gives you 3 solid attackers as well as a character for Dark Angel to carry.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's, I think, what the mindset. Here's the thing: the exercise became very easy when we opened the packs. Like, oh well, Dark Angel.
Yeah, Dark Angel seems like a kind of a given because of his ability to negate so much attack and damage from the vast majority of the set. Yeah. That it was really how do you build the other 100 points. In my case, I would lean towards Magneto because I love combining the TK with Dark Angel.
Yeah,
I love being able to. He enhances defense, and I don't think I would use it so much for aggression. I think I would likely try to play it a bit conservatively, unless I can't get around it, and TK him back after a big running shot blast, so that it forces my opponent to come to me, and in the meantime, I'm going out blasting, pull him back, go out blasting, pull him back, go out blasting, pull him back, and then when the time comes, get Magneto into the fray, get him dealing some serious damage. I don't mind so much if I lose Magneto. The important thing is that he's assisting Dark Angel doing what he can, so that by the time they really have to deal with Dark Angel, the team is so decimated that they just can't.
Yeah,
that would be my build.
Yeah, and that's exactly the way I would build too, and also in the fact that if you think about how, like you said, Dark Angel's got bigger points than most of the set, which I think there's one character that shares a point value with him in Cameron Hodge, and one
Two
character,
Proteus.
Proteus, who probably going to see at 35 points.
Exactly, but yeah.
Like even in the sealed, you're going to see him at 35 points because he's going to pop through the team and then show up. So
totally, absolutely more worth it there.
Yeah. And then beyond that, you got the Dark Phoenix. I mean,
that's it.
That's really all that's bigger than or same as him. And then you talk about opposing characters with 75 points or less. That's the set.
Yeah, I think I gave the exact stat last time, but it's something like 75% of the set or something. I can't remember the exact number, but it's around that. It is well above half the set.
So you think about more than half the set is going to be having to deal with energy shield and a -1 attack. So a 20 defense and you're mostly 10s in the set attacks or even 11s. You're going to have a bit of a hard time hitting this Dark Angel.
Patrick does make a good point, though, that with that 100-point Cyclops is a more reliable damage dealer than Magneto. Magneto's great on his first click, but after he's taken the damage, then he becomes a little more middling. He's great for enhancing Dark Angel and is great for TK, opening up opportunities or pulling him back from dangerous situations. But that Cyclops, with the Force Blast in there to be able to keep opponents at bay, blasting them back while Dark Angel's doing his business, and the fact that you can combine it with Dark Angel's ability to carry Cyclops so that you're not even making the initial engagement until it's exactly the way you want it to be, then I can certainly see something having a lot of success with that too. So that's a good point.
Yeah. The way I kind of picture it going though, if you go with the Magnetos, you go out, you shoot, then you shoot again. That turn you now get pulled out, pull back in, and then if they close in on you, well, I'm next to Magneto, so I'm shooting harder now, and Magneto's added into the shooting. So like I personally lean more towards the Magneto because of flexibility, and that again, that's where I would go with it myself.
Me too, but I think it would be I would really be thinking about it. That's all. It's one of those things.
You get a Dark Angel. It's like, geez, okay. So what am I playing with Dark Angel? You're really building sealed with 100 points.
Yeah, and I mean, when we did our sealed review, I think that was last week, right? Yeah. Then one of the things that when we were talking about our criteria for thumbs up, thumbs down, my criteria for thumbs up was these are the figures that I set aside and say I want to build with these. Yeah. And the thumbs down wasn't they're bad. These are what I will use to fill out my team. In this case, pulling these packs, Cyclops, Magneto, and Dark Angel all get a thumb up, and so I don't even really need to consider the rest of the packs. I need to figure out what I'm going to break out with those. Yes, Scrambler and Super Saber would be another way of getting to 100 points, and of course, hypersonic speed is great and all. If Super Saber could carry, I would be much more serious about that as an option, but he doesn't. And Scrambler's got to get next to your opponents, and ideally, Dark Angel is going to stick back. Whether that's sticking back because Magneto's pulling him back, or because Cyclops is blasting them back, the end result is the same. Dark Angel wants to keep his distance. So,
yeah. All right. So on that note, it's a bit of a short show tonight, guys, because we got Anticipation Canadian Nationals, one less voice in the room, and we're and Tom is. Tom, right now, he's like I said at the beginning of the show. Tom is in good spirits, many spirits.
Yeah, old number 7. Sometimes you got to go back to the classics, ladies and gentlemen.
And if you want to support Tom's drinking problem, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks.
One of the worst segue in show history.
I don't promote that, and I don't actually give him booze money. I give him Battle Royale money.
Yeah, so I get to save money on the Battle Royales. And where that money goes is nothing to do with Jason at all.
Exactly. But, if you want to support the channel, support these guys in their Battle Royales at big events. Check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks, and you can become a patron. Every month we do a patron hangout. Every quarter we do one that involves Tom and Mike as well. Our next one is looking to be June 3rd. The day before provincials. I'm so glad I booked that. Glad I'm judging on that one. So glad I'm judging.
Yeah.
But if you want to check that out, we appreciate all of our supporters. And I do want to put a special shout out, as always, to our first and longest time supporter, and that is Michael Fedor. He's a regular to the show on the Patreon Hangout, and we do appreciate all of his support to date. So check it out. If you want to support us directly. If not, check out our sponsors, hcrealms.com. You saw the unit section today. You saw the forums today. It's a wonderful tool when it comes to talking HEROCLIX and getting information about HEROCLIX that you need. So check it out at hcrealms.com. And while you're there, click the shop button. Get some cool stuff. And while you're checking out, put in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off of your purchase. Also want to thank Patrick for his trolling me during the episode and for his support from MajesticCCG.com. Before and once we're done the ad reads, we're going to get to your comments, guys, because I forgot about that. See, apparently I'm in good spirits too. Majestic CCG is also one of our longtime supporters directly, and they've been with us since the beginning of the live show, as it were.
At that low cost for a monthly subscription, there's no excuse not to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, look forward to. I'm hoping by Friday. I don't know when. I'm gonna have to talk to Patrick when he wants my team article, and we'll go from there. But it should be up just before Canadian Nationals. I'm gonna lay it out all on the line and say this is what I'm playing. But you gotta check it out there. In the meantime, it's time to get to fan call questions. If you are watching the show and haven't got your question in on the Facebook, put it in the comments below on the YouTube, and we'll cover your topic or your questions that you may have. In the meantime, where are we? Here we go. I didn't make it as big as I usually do. Okay. Oh, a couple more got added. Okay, so first off, Charles L. Franklin, good luck to all, and any hints to your strategy. Well, my strategy, as I said, check it out at MajesticCCG.com later this week, and you'll get a look at what I plan on playing should I make day 2 of Canadian Nationals. Tom?
My strategy, again, my hint towards my strategy is almost certainly, because I haven't exactly decided which of the many teams I've been tooling with I'm going to play with, but it will almost certainly be all about trying to get points as opposed to trying to not give up points. I would rather win. I would rather win 200 to 50 or 200 to 100 than win a roll off. That my heart can't handle that kind of tension. I would rather get out there. Hey, if it fails, then it fails, and I tried and I had a good time. But I would rather be aggressive than be passive and hope that my roll off dice are feeling hot. So that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, you got to get those points in the Swiss rounds. That's for absolutely sure. So make sure your team can operate in 2 ways.
Yeah, if you can, let's put it that way. If you're going to play Swiss, unless your team is unbeatable, in which case, congratulations, you've broken HEROCLIX. I'm glad. I hope you're proud of yourself. Unless your team is unbeatable, then it's better to get the points any way that you can, because it's almost certainly going to come down to points unless you can go completely unbeaten. If you can go completely unbeaten, then rock on. You don't need to hear us give you advice if you can go completely unbeaten through the Swiss with absolute confidence. But most people can't, and at that point, it's better to get points than not.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, Rick Sasser with Sunfire and Riptide pulse wave threats. Sorry, with Sunfire and Riptide pulse wave threats, how viable will Superman Blue become down the line?
It's a pity that Mike isn't on this cast because he loves Superman Blue.
Oh, dude, I know me and Amber are in love with the character. Every time I build a team, I just can't squeeze them in because I have other tools. But yes, if I had a chance, the opportunity to put in a Superman Blue, I would put in a Superman Blue to protect myself from Pulse Wave almost any day, because the only Pulse Wave he doesn't really protect against is Mix's play.
I think he's very viable because he also is a great little long-range running shooter with the Superman team ability. So that's awesome. And I would be interested to see, as the next few DC sets come out, whether or not we're going to get any other low-point Superman, so that his wait that's not Superman trait might actually come in handy, because up until this point we haven't been able to see that piece of his construction really be valuable to the meta. But really, at 1/6 of your team build, he's a good little piece in his own right. So I think that he absolutely will have a place. And I, Pulse, he makes a good point. Sunfire and Riptide are 2 great examples, but Pulse Wave is arguably the best power in the game, or certainly the one that deals with the most. And so it's always been valuable. It always will be valuable. And in that context, Superman Blue absolutely has a place. Up until now, we've had an orange battery that could take it away. We're going to have a Peggy Carter going forward that can take it away, but she's a bit more selective in her functionality. And she's also more expensive if you put her on your team. So yeah, I would say Superman Blue is very viable. I just wait till the orange battery goes away, and then we'll really start to see him come into his own. Is what I would say.
We missed him last week. It was an emptiness. But Chris Stockhouse says, "Good luck, guys. I know I'm not a patron, but I'll be rooting from Ohio and following along on the live stream." Now, I want to be very make a point that you're allowed to ask questions on this show if you're not a patron. It's when you guys are Facebook messaging and emailing us. That's when we don't have the time to address it because our off time right now is spent on our own builds, etc. So and. Honestly, I really do have to get back to work and starting to get.
Chris Stockhouse won the Michigan ROC with one of the most the fact that he won it with that Ant-Man team is so awesome. In a world where you see, even though there's a lot we've gushed about the creativity of the meta, but a lot of times you see a few of the same things percolating to the top, but rarely is that ironmonger and a lot of ants. So I'm still getting over how awesome that was. So thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Hope that we do it well for you.
Speaking of Chris's, Christopher Smotherman, hey guys, name one sleeper/surprise figure from the Guardians of the Galaxy set that you think might make a splash during the month of June in the competitive scene. Maybe something like Isaac, Beyonder, anyone we really haven't seen show up before because of free action limitations or just better options. You got any ideas on this one? The Guardians of the Galaxy, what's left over?
I guess it depends on what you call a sleeper, because does Jason of Sparta count as a sleeper?
I don't think I would consider him a sleeper because he played very early on when he was there. Warrior team played with a Proxima. I can't remember the guy's name now. He's really good in Vancouver too. Oh, geez, I feel bad about this. But he's one of the players that used to play down with Patricia, and he used Proxima Midnight with Jason of Sparta, and that's where everybody kind of went, "Oh, hey."
And I guess likewise, I mean, does Rocket Raccoon count as a sleeper? Because Rocket Raccoon has always been good, but Rocket Raccoon isn't going to get any better because of the things that are cycling out. So I'm sorry to feel like it's a copy. I feel like I'm copying out to take one of the things he suggested in the question, but the only one I would say was Beyonder, because I do feel like the free action thing has been an issue for Beyonder, and so has the fact that he can't be assigned a resource, because there's been so many powerful resources, obviously, that we're building with those as much as possible. And the thing that there are various different things that hurt the Beyonder at anything under 300 points. One is the fact he's -1 to all of his combat values. Outsiders is a great way around that. Up until recently, we didn't have a cheap and reliable source of outsiders. Now we do. So with Nightwing out there giving you 25-point outsiders, then I do absolutely think that Beyonder might be able to enjoy the full heft of his combat values. With the free action restriction now going away, then Beyonder will be benefited by that. And with the inability to be assigned a resource, he can still use the benefits of the round table, because that's not an assigned resource. And so if the round table is going to come into its own in a more significant fashion, now that the batteries and the Phoenix Force and the power plant are cycling out, then that too gives more opportunity. So yeah, if I had to pick one, I would say Beyonder, because I do think that a lot of the things that have stymied him are going away. That being said, I know a lot of people don't think the Beyonder's that good to begin with. I absolutely adore the Beyonder, and I have ever since I first picked him up. But admittedly, when I first started playing Heroclix, one of the first things I did was I found the creative corner area of HC Realms where you could create your own dials. And the first dial I ever created was Beyonder. When I first started reading comics, I was introduced to the Marvel Universe through Secret Wars 2, because Secret Wars 2 was the series that kind of cycled through every different comic book of the time, and my brother was collecting them all. So I got to read through all of Secret Wars 2 and introduced to all of the Marvel characters at that time, thanks to that storyline. So I'm a huge Beyonder fan and a huge Beyonder mark. So of course I'm going to pick Beyonder, but that's my answer.
Karnak. Calling it now.
Fast Forces or regular set?
Main set. All penetrating damage, baby.
That's true. He's hard to get rid of. 75 points. He can also perplex himself up, as with all the Inhumans in the main set. So yeah, he's powerful.
I'm maybe trolling, but I do want to see somebody do something with Karnak because
I want to see somebody do something with Gorgon. Again, not that much battle fury, and Gorgon has one of the longer charge ranges, especially considering he can perplex up his movement in conjunction with that battle fury.
Yeah. So let's see Karnak and Gorgon. Somebody smarter than me.
Yeah. I've always wanted to see Thanos make a splash, but just not quite there.
I've seen 100.1 on teams, but not frequently. He's not a regular shower, unfortunately.
He'd be cool. Opposing characters can't ignore hindering for movement, right? That's his thing?
Yeah.
He'd be cool with the new Storm.
Yeah. That's true. Use that with the free smoke cloud.
Yeah.
Can't get over that. All right. Robert Guy. Greetings, lads. In regards to the last 3 episodes of Metal Lab, number 77, 76, and 75, I must say, you 3 epitomized a line from the movie They Live. I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. I mean, come on.
That's true.
Statistics.
We are not chewing bubblegum on the show, so he's right.
No. Because you want to hear this noise? The whole show? Nobody wants to hear that. But this goes on. This is quite lengthy.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Statistics on the percentage of sidestep and precision strike in a set with graphs over 4 hours dedicating to critiquing an entire set. Getting information provided from you lads is comparable to getting a drink of water out of a fire hydrant. And let me be the first to say, don't change a thing. Well, maybe one thing, and it's the amount of puns. There's not enough of them. Did I make enough of Dr. Jack, Dr. Daniels, spirits puns today?
It's not a goal that one looks to achieve. It's a goal that one looks to strive towards for all of their time.
The other thing too is a lot of my pun quotas hit throughout the day because as a dad, I'm hitting puns on a regular basis, so it's required.
I have to say, I really appreciate that comment because I think that we like to get really excited about things and have this podcast as an outlet for that excitement. And so, we would be just talking to each other about this with extreme enthusiasm. The fact that we can talk to a larger audience is great. And if people like it, then that's so much the better because it's just, the Uncanny X-Men set is a really exciting set. And it's been so much fun to be able to dig into it deep and hopefully do more of that as the summer comes on. So, rock on.
I do personally hope that we get to talk this much about Superior Spider-Man because I want that to be as good a set as Amazing Spider-Man because Amazing Spider-Man such a mark in my soul. Oh, man. That was such a good set.
I'm already trying to improve those graphs. Mike made the very good suggestion that I should be changing up the colors so that they correspond to the colors of the actual powers, and that's incredibly obvious. So why don't I do that? So yeah, definitely we'll do that. The full credit goes to Mike, but that's one of many changes that we'll make. But it's only uphill from here as far as I'm concerned.
Robert does have a question in here too, oddly enough.
All right.
Actually, he has a couple questions. What has been your favorite detachable piece in the Uncanny X-Men set, and why? So that's the detachable pieces being, of course, the Scarlet Witch, the Clix FX. What's your favorite?
Oh, Clix FX types, yeah.
Iceman? Because watching that ice block go.
Yeah, it almost seems too easy, but you're right, absolutely. I would agree with Iceman. Beyond that, I mean, if we consider Iceman to be almost a given, then up until this point, and I feel like this is the type of answer that might change as time goes on and we get to play more and more and more. I mean, I don't know whether we're counting the brood eggs and whatnot, but I think that's really neat.
I would personally include it.
I would be inclined to say Rare Magneto because I love the ability to just give somebody ESD. But again, this does come partly from the fact that I've had some experience playing with him. And likewise, the Chase Magneto with his detachable debris tokens could just get crazy. So the right answer is Magneto. But I feel like given more time, I feel like Scarlet Witch might pull ahead for me. And Iceman. Iceman is number one. I'm debating over what's number two.
Yeah. Personally, my number two is Scarlet Witch because of my success rate with the disintegration beam. So
yeah.
I can hit 10s eventually. Maybe here's the thing. I don't hit frequently, but when I do, it's high or I'm playing against Tom.
Boy, that was
Those
the
were
world.
rough practice nights.
The world needs to see the results of that practice night. Storm's leadership was the funniest thing that I've encountered in a long time, and we'll let that joke hang until we can actually put up the results of the practice night. But we had some fun. We had some fun with that, I tell you.
Like me and Mike had to stop our game. Amber and Tom were laughing so goddamn hard.
It's okay. We stopped our game too. Oh,
all right. So next up, Matt Wallace. Hey guys, last week was awesome. Hashtag Thunderbird take notes. Sounds like a great design for a shirt. Thunderbird in the middle with a montage of other characters from the set that use exploit without dying. We need to hire more. Mike, get on it. If you're watching, Mike, or if you're relaxing and watching, get on that.
Yeah, Thunderbird needs to take notes from a 10-point Hulkbuster arm. For heaven's sakes. Every piece in the world can have exploit weakness that doesn't kill them, and yet somehow Thunderbird needs to jump in front of a jet plane to make it happen.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Also, when abilities bring characters from outside the game, do those figures have to be sidelined, or is that a separate thing altogether? Okay. So I'm going to stop at that question. There's a difference between replacing and using the sideline, or using the sideline in general, and from out of the game. From out of the game doesn't count as being towards a sideline, but a lot of the times tournaments will ask you to list what you've brought with you for that sake. Next, you guys keep doing what you do, and hope to see you guys in Atlanta. My little brother will be coming with me. He's really excited about the event and wants to meet you guys. And if time at the event, he wants to challenge you guys to a fun casual game for laughs. Oh yeah. If
I love
presents, by all means. But I do know personally, I'm committed to, if I don't do well, to get behind the mic on the live stream. I know I'm committed to that to a certain degree, and Amber is committed to helping with some of the organization and the updates at Rock Atlanta. Which is incidentally at the end of our honeymoon. So it's all planned and vacation time is taken.
Hey, if I could be there, then I have no responsibilities whatsoever. So I'll play a fun game anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, and there's going to be all kinds of off times, too, between tournament times, or we might not be in a tournament. I know they actually run several super qualifiers there. So we'll see what's up, and we'll see. We might do some after-hours meetups or before-hours meetups or something like that. We got to get that all organized ahead of time because I mean ahead of time because we have to do a honeymoon before that. So,
well, Hey, oh, by the way, I completely forgot about it because I often forget the chases exist for some strange reason. But in regards to the question of the FX bases, that Sunfire at 80 points really is a huge pain in the backside. That the ability to deal penetrating damage at the beginning of the next turn, unless you roll through water, which is so thematic that I absolutely love it. I also love that both times I faced against it, I happened to be on a map that had water, so thank heavens. Or clear tokens, but that's that's good. That is worth the price of admission for that Sunfire, as far as I'm concerned. Healing Pulse Wave is hard to argue with too, but boy, that token's an effective one. So I guess now that I've thought about it, because in my mind I was limiting myself to the R's, the rares and SRs, but I'm going to give that one a big bump up to my favorite FX base.
Absolutely, and I would agree with that if I'd seen it in action more. I haven't, so
I've only seen it in action. I've only seen it in action dealing me damage, but hopefully less of that soon. Emily.
Yeah. It's hard to like it when that's the case, then, isn't it? All right, so that does handle all the questions. Once again, check out our sponsors, Majestic CCG or HC Realms. And if you're in the shop section of HC Realms, use coupon code Mary for 10% off your purchase. And subscribe to the Apex Insiders portion of the Majestic CCG for awesome premium content. In the meantime, we're heading into nationals, so we're getting lots of practice because, as we keep saying, practice
makes
your
team.
Oh! I'm slow. I'm terrible. No. Where is it? There it is. Better.
Well done.
Have a good night, everybody.